Hi guys, this video is to show you how to host your own Flux Domain Manager on Ubuntu 20.04. I just want to let you know that the English is not my first language, so sorry for my bad English. To get started, what you will need is a VPS, virtual private server, or a server at home, preferably with a static external IP. So that's why I get a VPS for that. Your VPS will need to have at least 2 gigs of RAM. I tried with 1 gigs, but the app crashed because of out of memory. So at least 2 gigs of RAM and maybe 2 vCores too. Um, on my side, I created Droplet on DigitalOcean. So you will have to log into SSH in your Ubuntu 20.04 VPS. I didn't try with the higher version of Ubuntu, but I think it will work too. But I just follow the guide on Flux Domain Manager GitHub. So if you scroll down a little bit, you will have a guide for 20.04. So I just followed this guide. I didn't test it for 22 or other distributions. So you will also need Cloudflare with the domain. I know you can use Power DNS, but I tried with Cloudflare. So this video is for Cloudflare, but you can use this video for Power DNS if you want. I don't think it will be harder to adapt. So let's get started. So I will connect into SSH to my VPS. So I am using Kitty. It's a fork of Putty, but you can use Putty if you want to, or Terminal if you're on Linux. So okay, it's important to be connected, to be logged in as root. I tried with a user and I got some permission denied issues. So if you're connected as root, it will be easier. So let's go. Well, I think I forgot my password. It seems that I forgot my password, so I will just drop this droplet and I will recreate it. Don't worry. Create droplet. Sorry for that. 2 gigs of RAM, 2 CPUs. My region is Canada, Toronto. So we'll create a password. So create droplet. Oh, sorry, I just chose 22.10. Oh, yeah. Sorry for that. 20.04. Regular 2 gigs of RAM, 2 CPUs, Toronto 1. I will delete this droplet. Sorry for that. Okay. So it's creating the droplet, so just wait a little bit. You will also need a domain. On my side, I will use a globalmine.ca that I bought on GoDaddy, and it's already connected to my Cloudflare account. So I will use it. You will also need FluxOS to get some information. I will explain you later why. It's optional, but I think you will use it. So, okay, the droplet is created. So let's start Kitty. As I mentioned, please connect as root. Oh, it's not loaded yet. Okay, so okay, yeah. So I will follow this guide. So I will split my screen in two. So let's start with the apt-get update. Okay, we will also do a apt upgrade. So I just follow these lines right here. Just to let you know that it will install software properties, commons, certbot, HA proxy, curl, git, wget, and screen. Certbot is for automatic generation of SSL certificate. HA proxy is the load balancer. Curl and git, well, you're supposed to know what it is. So we will also install a Node.js. We will install NVM. NVM is like a version manager of Node, so when you install it, you can switch between version. So in this case, we will install the 14 version. I didn't test with 16 version, but I guess it will work too. But in this guide, they are using 14 version, so I will use it. We will also install MongoDB, and as you can see at the bottom, we will let MongoDB start at boot. So when the VPS or your server reboots, so it will start MongoDB at boot. So we will wait that upgrade finish. So after installing all these lines, we will modify, edit HE proxy config. We will append this under all. After that, we will reload the HE proxy, and we will update the cron tab to let certbot renew SSL certificate. Using your own FDM will help probably your apps to be faster when loading. On my side, I have some speed issues with the Flux FDM, probably because of the load of every apps and probably the location of the load balancer. So on my side, the VPS is near my location, so using this load balancer will help my apps loading very faster. Okay. After that, installing all dependencies, we will clone the Flux Domain Manager project from GitHub, and we will config. We will change the configuration for your settings, and we will start the app. We will have to generate an SSL certificate from Cloudflare 2. So, okay. Okay, the upgrade is done. So we will install all these dependencies. Okay. We will install FDM. That's it. Okay, NVM install 14, so we'll install node 14 and we will set to NVM to use 14 version. So right now we will install MongoDB. Okay. update install MongoDB, and we will set to MongoDB to start at boot. Okay. Okay, and okay. Perfect. So MongoDB will start at boot. Right now, we will edit the HA proxy config. Let this right here, and you will append this at the end of the file, and you will save this file. After that, we will reload HA proxy with the new config. After that, we will create a cron tab for certbot, and I will remove this line, and I will add the line here. As you can see, it will update SSL certificate every day. You can change it if you want, but I think one every day is good. So you could update certs each hour or each minutes, but I think once a day it's good. So let's save this. After that, we have all dependencies we need. So before getting Flux Domain Manager from GitHub, we will go to cd etc SSL. Let's see what's there. We will create a folder called Flux Apps. We'll go into this folder, and I will paste our default Cloudflare SSL certificate. Because if certbot is not able to generate the certificate, SSL certificate for a specific domain, it will use the default. If you don't have default, the FDM will not work, or HA proxy will trigger an error. So to do that, let's go to Cloudflare. You will go to the menu. I think it's SSL and TLS and origin server. You will click on create certificate. Let's all by default. It's okay. Just click on create. It will generate a certificate and a private key. So let's create a file called cert.crt. You will copy the certificate and you will paste the private key too. So control, you will save it. So for me it's control O, save, okay, perfect. So the cert is there, so that's it. So we will go back to root folder, and we will now clone the project. So let's go cloning Flux Domain Manager. Perfect. So Flux Domain is here. So let's go into the folder. If we look at files right here, we have a config folder. It's there. We will change some configs. So let's go in the config folder. We have pdns config, Cloudflare config, and default.js. On my case, we will not use pdns config because this video is for Cloudflare. But if you use a pdns, I guess it's the same thing, but just use pdns config.js instead of Cloudflare config.js. And default.js is default config that we will change. So let's go with Cloudflare config. So let's go editing it. You will have to provide an API key, a zone ID, and domain. So the domain for myself is globalmind.ca. The zone ID can be found in overview right here of your domain on Cloudflare, and you will have zone ID right here. So click to copy and paste it here. We will also need an API key to do so. You go into your profile, you go in the menu, API tokens. You will create token right here. You will choose edit zone template. So use a template right here. Permissions, it's good. Zone resources is to limit the token to specific zones. So in our case, we will limit it to globalmine.ca. You can also filtering by IP. I can, if I want, limit it to specific IP. So I can use this IP, limit it to this IP because of my load balance. It's only my load balancer that use it. But for now, we'll let it empty. TTL, don't set TTLs because you will have to recreate a new token when it will expire. So continue to summary, create token. So it generate the token. So copy the token right here, and that's it. Save the file. Once it's done, we will go into the default.js. So yeah, right here we will change some things. Main domain, you have to change it to your domain. So for me, it's globalmine.ca. App subdomain is a subdomain that all apps will have. So for example, I will let app. So if I have the app explorer, the domain will be explorer.app.globalmine.ca. You have to provide a domain for your load balancer. So in my case, I will use fdm-lb.globalmine.ca. Domain app type, let it add CNAME. Email domain is important for certbot. You can input your domain, so certbot will notify you when the domain is going to expire. Cert folders, let that to Flux apps. Automate certificate, let it at true. So certbot will automatically generate this SSL certificate for your custom domains. Automate certificates for FDM domains is for domains that is generated by FDM. If you want to generate a certificate, SSL certificate for that, just put to true. In my case, I don't need automatic domain, so I will let it at false. In the Cloudflare section, go to Manage App and set it as true, and enable set it as true too. On PDNS, set it at false. At false too, because we don't use it. You have these config here: mandatory apps, owners apps, whitelisted apps, and blacklisted apps. By default, FDM will import all Flux apps. It's great for the Flux FDM itself, but for my case, and I think for the case of other people's that host FDM, you probably want to let only your apps to use your FDM. So mandatory apps can be empty. So you can erase it. But if you have mandatory apps that needs to be run, you can add it here, and you will have a kind of protection when you start FDM. It will let you know that, hey, you have this mandatory apps, but it doesn't exist, or something like that. Owner's app. If you want to only load apps from a specific owner, you can add it here. So for me, in my case, I just want to load the app of my account. So if I'm going to global apps right here, I will find my owner ID. So let's here, owner right here. So I will copy my owner ID here. So FDM will only load my apps and not this all app right here. So it will only load these 4 apps because these 4 apps is for my owner ID. You can add multiple owner ID too, and it will work too. After that, you have whitelisted apps. If you add apps right here, it's app's name. Blacklisted will be ignore. So if you want to whitelist an app, it will only include this apps and reject all the others. Blacklisted apps will blacklist a specific app, but as mentioned, if whitelisted apps is specified, blacklisted apps is ignore. So you can't use the twos. So after that, just save the file. On my side, sorry, I will just empty the blacklisted apps because it's a little bit useless in my case, so it will be cleaner. Just to let you know that names here is a regular expression, so you can use like the star right here, and it will work too. Okay, so it's saved. So right now, I think we will be ready to use the Flux Domain Manager. So we will use screen to create a separate screen for FDM. So let's go. Perfect. We will install dependency, so npm install. It will install the Flux Domain Manager dependencies. After that, we will be able to start the FDM. Okay, perfect. So dependencies is installed. So let's start it. npm start will start the Flux Domain Manager. Don't worry about these errors. It's just saying that info.log, debug.log, and one.log does not exist, but FDM created. So as you can see, it will create domains on my Cloudflare account. These error here is to say that this domain does not point to my FDM, so it's normal. It's not a big deal. Perfect. So when you see this config right here, it's just because it's loaded successfully. So if we take a look at my Cloudflare account here, globalmind.ca, and if I'm going to DNS, you will see that FDM created a CNAME of every apps that run on Flux. So you can use these CNAMEs, example right here, this CNAMEs here. If I'm trying that, globalmind.ca. So you will have to use this domain as CNAME on your custom domains. So right now the FDM is running, and once you will use your custom domain and use the CNAME right here, a certbot will detect it and create SSL certificate. So that's it for FDM. So if you have any questions